Alrighty, so it is Monday, which means we have some box office to discuss. And this weekend, we not got... I can edit this out. This weekend, we not only got one, but two new releases. One of them, which was The Wild Robot, which had everyone going wild over it, including myself. I love that movie, and I'm so glad that it overperformed. It is such a deserving movie. But that opened at number one with $35 million, which is about 10 million more than Transformers did just last weekend. And it was also loved by everyone. It had an A cinema score, a Rotten Tomatoes score of 98 for both critics and audiences, which I think it's very rare that audiences and critics agree on a movie, but this is one of those movies, and it's very much, at least to me, giving Paddington 2 vibes where everyone loves it and it's just kind of a perfect movie. And I would agree with that. I think this is a perfect movie as well as Paddington 2. Now, the next big questions become, how is it going to turn out at the Oscars? If it doesn't get nominated, I riot. If it doesn't win, I'll be a little bit upset, but I'll understand it, especially with such good animated films this year. We not only have the juggernaut that is Inside Out 2, but you have Flow coming out later in the year. You have animation's just been killing it lately, and so I definitely love how it's evolved as an art form to tell multiple types of stories. You have Lord of the Rings, the animated movie, coming out later this year, so it's animation winning at the box office, winning critically, just winning across the board. Pay your animators more if you're not doing so. If you're one of those companies who doesn't pay their animators well, pay them well, because they're bringing in the big bucks and they're pouring their heart, blood, and sweat into this, into these films, and it's working. They are doing great jobs. This is also a very big win for Chris Sanders, who I don't think has ever directed a bad movie. Like, I was looking over his filmography as a director. Lilo and Stitch, How to Train Your Dragon, The Croods, and Call of the Wild was actually the only live action film he's made. But if you haven't seen Call of the Wild, it is a really nice, sweet film. And I can definitely see relations with that and The Wild Robot. But yeah, he just has not missed a single time, and Disney really let him slip through their hands. They had him and they let him go, or he left. But yeah, he's a great creative. I am very excited to see what he does next, and I know he'll be coming back as Stitch in the Lilo and Stitch live action movie, so we'll be seeing him on screen, or at least hearing him on screen. But yes, Wild Robot, huge success this weekend. Could not happen to a nicer film. But whereas The Wild Robot was a very nice, positive surprise, we have Megalopolis, which people are now dubbing MegaFLOPolis after it opened at number 6 with only $4 million in its opening weekend. Now, this is a weird movie to kind of talk about, especially when you're talking about box office analysis, because whereas most movies are, there's a business component to it, with studios often, being backers of this film. This movie, while it technically was released by Lionsgate, Francis Ford Coppola himself paid a majority of not just the production budget, but also the marketing. So this is really one of those cases where I don't think that the box office was not the intention for it to be called successful. I think Francis Ford Coppola just wanted to make this film, and he did it. And the fact that he actually did it, and it's completed, I think that's the way that this film wins. Rotten Tomatoes scores, not good. Critics or audiences now agree on a movie that they don't like. Also, their cinema score was a D+, which not great either. Yeah, this film just overall is not particularly liked by audience, by critics, not a lot of people went to see it. I went to see it, and I'm going to talk about it later on in a separate video. But yeah, I think box office wise, it was never really the goal for this film. And so in that respect, I have to kind of give it props for just doing what it wanted to, but also maybe now we know why studio heads are kind of important and why we shouldn't antagonize executives and producers just because they're not quote unquote on the creative side of things. It's that magic sauce, the magic tension, when it gets it just right mix of creatives and business execs, when they merge, they make something that's really, really just beautiful, like we saw with the Wild Robot earlier. So Hollywood is a business, Hollywood is an art form. Both statements are true, and both are things that we have to remember. In other news, Beetlejuice continues to have very small decreases in terms of their box office. It is currently in the top 10 films of 2024 worldwide and domestically. So yeah, Beetlejuice is a hit, and I'm surprised they haven't announced Beetlejuice yet. Hopefully soon, maybe after Wednesday wraps. The only downside about the Wild Robot being such an amazing success is the fact that Transformers 1 kind of got most of their audiences eaten up by the Wild Robot. It dropped 62%, which isn't awful, but considering that it opened lower than expected, it is not great. It still has a relatively low budget, and so I do think that it's going to be fine, and it's going to do boffo business when it goes to digital. But yeah, that's a little bit unfortunate. Transformers 1, great movie. If you haven't seen it, if you're looking for something and you already saw the Wild Robot, don't go to Megalopolis, go see Transformers 1. Side note, there was a little kid at my Megalopolis screening, and she loved the movie. So maybe it's a family movie, it's not. But yeah. We are also seeing an influx of international films kind of doing pretty well at the box office. The latest example was Devour Part 1, which usually movies that come from India tend to, pop into the top 10 every once in a while. But this actually opened at number 4 with $5.6 million, which is really impressive. I hadn't heard of this movie until I was doing my notes for this video, but I'm kind of digging it. I kind of want to go see it. So if anyone wants to go with me, feel free to comment down below. So yeah, that was this week's box office. We got some big winners, we got some big losers, and we got some people doing solid business. Overall, theater business is still alive and kicking. What movie did you see this weekend? What movie are you planning on seeing in the coming weeks? I would love to hear your thoughts down below.